West Valley Disposal, who, okay, now it's showing up in the room. So West Valley Disposal, who provides our disposal services for the community mountain house, is here this evening. And Melissa Robles is here to give you a little bit of the overview of what's happened in the waste industry and the things you need to know as we go forward. So at this point, I think I'll turn it over to you. Were you going to use the microphone or this microphone? Okay.
Hi, I'm Melissa and I work for West Valley Disposal. Today, I'm going to go over some recent changes in Mountain House due to SB 1383 and also some pointers to better sort your waste at home. West Valley Disposal is locally owned and operated and has been servicing the Mountain House community for 21 years. Some services that are provided to Mountain House are your collections of waste, recycling, and organic carts. West Valley also provides the street sweeping in Mountain House. They also do bulky item pickup and the Christmas tree collections. There are also additional services that we offer, such as couch pickups and fridge pickups. You can call our customer service department to get those scheduled, or if you have any additional questions. Landfills are the third largest source of methane in California. Organic waste in landfills emits 20% of the state's methane and a climate super pollutant 48 times more potent than carbon dioxide. Organic waste also emits air pollutants, which contribute to health conditions like asthma. Organic waste like food scraps, yard trimmings, paper, and cardboard make up half of what Californians dump in the landfills. Reducing super pollutants like organic waste will have the fastest impact on the climate crisis. Okay, let's talk about SB 1383. The Senate Bill 1383 requires jurisdictions, residents, businesses, commercial edible food generators, haulers, self-haulers, food recovery organizations, and food recovery services to support the statewide organic waste disposal reduction targets. On December 8th, 2021, the Mountain House Community Board of Directors adopted an ordinance as required by SB 1383. Here in this picture is an example of a clean organic cart with food scraps, yard trimmings, and soiled food boxes. Also notice that there is nothing that is bagged. Everything's loose. SB 1383 is the most significant waste reduction mandate to be adopted in California in the last 30 years. It is part of the statewide commitment to reduce the emissions of short-lived climate pollutants like methane gas. The state has committed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, improve health, and create clean jobs that support the local economy. The pictures below show how material is sorted at our facility. After it is sorted, the material is then baled and prepared for the market so that new goods can be made. So the target for SB 1383 is to have a statewide reduction of organic waste disposal by 75% by the year 2025. And also to reduce at least 20% of edible food that is currently going to the landfill. Landfills are dangerous. Every can thrown out contributes to pollution of the surrounding soil, air, and water. It also contributes to climate change and health hazards. Every year, the U.S. landfills receive 167 million tons of garbage. By sorting out organics such as food scraps, soiled paper, yard waste, and wood waste, that number can be reduced by 50%. What is organic waste and why is it important to divert it from the landfill? When we're talking about organic waste for the purpose of SB 1383, we are talking about green waste, wood waste, food waste, and fibers such as paper and cardboard. Landfilling organic waste leads to anaerobic breakdown of that material, which creates methane. Currently, landfills are responsible for 20% of the state's emissions and associated negative environmental and health impacts. What happens to organic waste in my community? Organics are delivered to Tracy Material Recovery for processing. Yard trimmings and food scraps are composted in an open windrow, a process that takes several weeks and close monitoring. The product of composting is a nutrient-rich soil that is sold by the yard. Much of the material processed from the community remains local, as it is reintroduced into landscapes, gardens, fields, and orchards as nutrient-rich compost. These also are pictures of our facility processing organic waste. When organics come in, they go through a sort line to eliminate as many contaminants as possible. It then goes through a grinder and put into windrows. It goes through a 15-day pathogen reduction phase. Once it has completed composting, which takes about 10 to 15 weeks, it is sold in bulk to a processor such as Home Depot or Ace, and then they make their own blends and bag it. We also sell to the farmers and to the public, but what is sold is not bagged. How does SB 1383 affect me? All the residents and businesses are required to divert all organic waste from the landfills. Businesses are required to place labeled bins for recycling and organic recycling next to all waste containers. Also, some businesses are required to recover edible food for human consumption. Some changes in order to comply with SB 1383. 1, new carts were distributed at the end of 2022. This was done because SB 1383 has specific color regulations for each cart. Waste has to be gray, recycling blue, organics green. The frequency was also changed. With the addition of the food waste to the yard waste carts, collection services were increased to a weekly pickup. What belongs in each cart? Here's an overview. So in the blue cart will be recyclables, things like junk mail, newspapers, clean cardboard, white or colored paper, aluminum cans, glass bottles and jars, plastic bottles and tubs, and non-soiled food containers. In the green cart will be your yard trimmings and food scraps. Things like branches, which need to be less than 6 inches in diameter and 3 feet in length. Grass clippings, weeds, leaves, and flowers. Also food scraps and food soiled paper, cardboard products go in this bin. In your gray cart will be all your waste. Common items include paper waste, diapers, plastic bags, and plastic wrap, sponges, rugs, clothing, and shoes. Hazardous waste cannot go in any of the 3 carts. Clean cardboard goes in the blue recycling bin. It has a greater environmental value since it will be recycled and reused. If it goes in the green, it will go to compost. So again, let's go over what goes in the blue recycling cart. Again, newspaper, magazines, catalogs, and clean cardboard and clean paper. Brown paper bags are okay, shoe boxes, glasses, plastic bottles and jugs, aluminum, tin, and steel cans. Remember that all items must be clean, empty, loose, and never bagged. Make sure your recyclable items aren't bagged. Our sort line is automated, so when the recycling is bagged, it is hard to sort. The sort line views it as garbage and goes to the landfill. Bags aren't open to see what is inside, so everything that's bagged goes to landfill. If it's loose, it goes to recycling. Yeah. There's a video here to kind of go over what I just said.
Confused about what can and can't be recycled? Let's sort things out together. Paper, cardboard, glass, cans, and some plastics are recyclable. But when there are so many different types of plastics, things can get a little twisted. When you put the wrong plastics in your recycling bin, they can literally tangle up the process. So here are a few examples of what you cannot recycle. Backpacks, umbrellas, electrical cords, plastic shipping envelopes, bubble wrap, diapers, plastic straws, plastic wrap, hoses, 6-pack rings, toothpaste tubes, cookie or cracker snack wrappers, applesauce or baby food pouches, or chip bags. Most California cities don't recycle plastic bags either. Make sure you don't trash your recycling by separating the right containers directly into the proper bins. Because when we all sort properly, we help make sure that our recycling actually gets recycled instead of ending up in a landfill or the ocean. Our small choices add up to make a big difference for our oceans, air, neighborhoods, and future generations. Do your part to save our planet. Sort correctly before you can it. Find out what your community recycles at irecyclesmart.com. Do your part. Recycle smart.
So now let's go over what does not belong in the blue recycling cart. Things such as dirt, rocks, hot ashes or coals, dead animals, hazardous waste, styrofoam, dirt, dirty paper, food, paper coffee cups, diapers, plastics labeled compostable, coated or greasy paper, soil, cardboard, or wood. No plywood, no pressed wood, no treated or stained or painted wood. There are also items that don't belong in the blue cart because they are not part of the residential collection program, but can still be recycled. Items such as batteries, cooking oil, electronics, hangers, light bulbs, metal, plastic bags, styrofoam and wood pallets. These things can be taken to a recycling facility. Some facilities that will take these items are San Joaquin County Household Hazardous Waste Facility in Stockton. Also Batteries Plus. I heard that the one in Tracy just got closed down, but there is also one in Stockton that you can take your batteries and light bulbs to. And then also our facility at Tracy Material Recovery. In the green organics cart, the things that do belong in there are grass clippings, weeds, leaves, branches, which remember must be less than 6 inches in diameter and less than 3 feet in length. Food scraps such as meat, vegetables, eggshells, bread, dairy, bones, and also food soiled paper products and food soiled cardboard products. Again, clean cardboard has more beneficial reuse in the blue recycling cart as it can be recycled into new boxes. The things that don't belong in the green organics cart are things such as palm fronds because they don't break down in the grinder, oleander because they are poisonous, coated or painted wood, burn material, poison oak, dirt, rock and concrete, metal, pet waste, which contains proteins and carries pathogens, deceased animals, which also carry pathogens. Hazardous waste does not belong in there, trash or your recyclables. Plastic bags, compostable bags, or biodegradable bags are also not acceptable because they're not recognized as an organic by the California Department of Food and Agriculture. So why compostable bags are not allowed in the green cart? Packaging labeled compostable is typically made up of synthetic material like PLA. PLA is not recognized by the California Department of Food and Agriculture as a certified organic material. Additionally, when sorting or looking at a container, it is difficult to identify bag types. Although PLA is biodegradable and will break down, it does not compose fast enough for composters. The residue is not compost and does not improve the quality of the soil and does not add any nutrients. It also changes the pH value of the soil, making it more acidic. Paper bags are acceptable though. So everything that belongs in a gray waste cart, all your waste, plastic bags, compostable bags, or biodegradable bags. Things that don't belong is your recyclables, organic material, hazardous material, or items that need special handling. So now that we've gone over what belongs in each cart, let's go over cart placement and where your cart belongs. Carts should be rolled out no more than 12 hours before collection and stored out of sight no more than 12 hours after collection. Make sure to put your cart wheels against the curb with the handles facing your house and the lid completely closed. Also, place cart 3 feet apart and 6 feet away from any vehicle or obstacle. Here we have examples of 2 different types of loads that come in. So on the left is the clean organics, which you can see have yard trimmings and branches and food soiled cardboard. But there's not any plastic bags or anything like that in there. And then on the right-hand side is just waste and plastic bags. And even if there was food scraps or organic material in those bags, they don't get sorted out and that all goes to the landfill. So our goal is to eliminate as much contamination through awareness, education, and outreach. So here are some best practices. You can separate garbage, recycle, and organic material in-house. So for your recycling, make sure all containers are empty, clean, and are dry. Also remember to keep things loose and don't bag the recyclables. Placing single-use items with reusable options is a good idea. Try to reuse food jars, repair or donate items instead of throwing them away. So for organics, again, let's keep things loose. Don't bag organics material. You can get kitchen pails for food scraps. The top picture right there, it's like a garbage can that has 3 different compartments so that it makes it easy for you to sort in-house. You can also drain excess liquids from the food waste before discarding. Make sure to wrap your food with paper or newspaper. Sprinkle the inside with baking soda and or peppermint oil to control odors, which I've experienced before. The peppermint oil actually does work. And then you can also freeze your food scraps. When dumping in the cart, make sure to layer with yard waste as well, and that reduces odor. So here's a video that kind of goes over how to keep your green cart clean.
Hi, I'm Laura. My family and I have been recycling our food scrap ever since the city of Vancouver introduced the green bin program a couple of years ago. Now that we're composting, we've seen a huge decrease in the amount of garbage we produce and feel great creating useful compost for our local gardens and farms. Our green bin can get icky and smelly pretty quickly. So to help prevent odors and pests, especially during the warm summer months, here are a few tips we like to follow. Tip number 1, finding the right spot for your green bin. Store your bin in a shady, ventilated spot to reduce odor and pests. Keep it away from fences or deck railings so critters don't have easy access to try to knock it over. If there's a persistent critter, place peppermint oil, hot sauce, or cayenne pepper on any chew marks left on the bin. Remember to wrap your food scraps before placing into the green bin. Lining your kitchen bin with newsprint is a great way to reduce odor, but never use plastic, even if it says it's biodegradable. Our next tip is very important, and I guarantee your nose will thank you. Line and layer your bin. Lining your bin with newsprint, cardboard, or yard trimmings before adding your scraps cuts down odor. Once you've started adding food scraps, layer in dry leaves, dry grass clippings, or dead plants throughout the week. Tip number 4, set it out every week. Set out your green bin for collection every week, even if it isn't full, to reduce odors, pests, and maggots. Properly setting out your cart is important. Always place carts with the handle facing your property, at least 1 meter of space on all sides and 3 meters of clearance above. Our final tip is rinse your bin. Rinsing your bin occasionally with a garden hose, mild detergent, or vinegar and water solution will help to keep it clean and reduce odor. By recycling food scraps, we're reducing the amount of greenhouse gases produced by garbage, and in turn creating beneficial compost that is used by local farmers to grow food across the region. For more information on the Green Bin program and recycling food scraps, visit vancouver.ca/greenbin.
Okay, so now let's go over the tips from the video on keeping your green organics cart clean. 1, find the right spot for your green organics. Make sure you find a shady, ventilated spot to reduce the odor and pest. Adding peppermint oil, hot sauce, or cayenne pepper to the cart can also keep pests away. The peppermint oil also helps in reducing odor. Keep lid completely closed as well. 2, wrap your scraps. Lining kitchen bins with your newspaper can help reduce odor. 3, line and layer your cart. Soiled newspaper, soiled cardboard, or yard trimmings before dumping your scraps cuts down odor. Once food scraps have been added, layer in leaves and grass trimmings. Set your cart out every week. Set cart out every week, even if it's not full, to reduce the odor, pests, and maggots. 5, rinse your cart. Occasionally rinse your cart with the hose and mild detergent or vinegar to keep clean and reduce odors. Down below is a good example from my audit here in Mountain House, and it shows, they do a good job wrapping their food scraps in newspaper and then also layering the leaves and within the yard trimmings as well. And this bin that I noticed too also smelled like peppermint oil and didn't have a foul odor at all. Okay, our state goals. There are 2 main goals. One is that by 2025, there will be a 75% organic waste reduction in the landfills. No more than 5.7 million tons of organic waste. In addition, not less than 20% of currently disposed food must be recovered for human consumption. Second, by 2030, greenhouse gas emissions are reduced by 40% below the 1990 level. Phasing in of organic waste disposal reduction program will reduce the amount of carbon dioxide produced now. To help meet our goal, SB 1383 has an enforcement component to it. So in January 2023, residential organic waste recycling and commercial food recovery requirements took effect in Mountain House. We also conduct route reviews. Route reviews are required annually and performed throughout the year. Each route is audited. An auditor is sent out to inspect carts by opening lids and visually inspecting for any contaminations in the cart. Carts audited will be tagged if inspection fails. A greater than a 10% contamination is considered failing. Information will be provided outlining acceptable content. Every resident and business audited along with results are reported to Mountain House. So let's continue on enforcement. Visual contamination monitoring is also done daily by the drivers as they are collecting your carts. By 2024, regulations may require local jurisdictions to impose penalties for non-compliance on generators within their jurisdiction. So here we have example of our oops tags. So these are left during the collection process if the driver notices contamination or if the audit fails. So these ones are for your garbage, and it also will check off what they found in there that doesn't belong in there. And then on the reverse side, it'll tell you acceptable things and non-acceptable items. And then we also have them for recycling, the same thing. And then for the green waste as well. So each one has its own and the do's and don'ts. A senior discount is also offered, and the form can be found on the Mountain House website. That's the link right there. Any questions?
Do you have any questions from the Zoom? All right, I'll ask a couple questions that I've been hearing from folks. I think certainly the first question, maybe clarification then, is in your green waste, no plastic, but since a lot of people don't have newspaper anymore, what are the acceptable types of? We do have our one local paper once a month, but we don't have a daily paper we can use, right? And so are the paper bags you get from
Paper
the
bags
grocery
are
store acceptable? And
Yes,
and I assume, but I'm assuming there's other types of paper like wax paper that's not acceptable, correct?
no, anything with a coating on it is not acceptable. But paper bags, like grocery bags, are acceptable, those brown bags.
Cardboard?
In the green, yes, but if it's soiled, it goes in the green.
Mhm.
If it's clean, it goes in the blue. Yes,
Preferably.
preferably.
It can go in the other one, but
Yes.
preferably.
Microphone.
It can go in the green organics, but preferably we'd like it in the blue, since if it goes in the blue, it actually gets recycled and made into a new box. As where if it goes in the green, it goes to compost.
Right. And the thing for people to remember is one of the ways we try to keep our rates down is the more you can recycle products, correct? And the more you can properly compost, the
Correct.
more we can keep rates down, correct?
Correct.
So the more we don't have, because I'm assuming what goes in the gray, it's a bigger cost factor, I assume, for everything we have to put in the gray can, correct? That just has to go to the landfill. And there's more cost related to dumping in the landfill than there is in recycling or composting, correct?
Correct.
I just think it's important for the public to understand it's all part of, as the district each year, we get an audit from West Valley, to take a look to make sure that we're only getting charged for what our actual costs are. And obviously the best way for us to mitigate costs is for people to be able to recycle or compost as much of the materials as possible. And I guess another question is, in your audits, what has been the failure rate so far?
It hasn't, the recycling has been good, the organics, not so great. The big thing that I find is plastic bags. That's probably the biggest item that problem that I find. Also, sometimes people think it's a third overflow of their garbage. So I find a lot of garbage in there. If their gray waste is full, they kind of roll it over to that. Those are a few of the things I've seen while auditing.
Right, and the state, so right now, we're doing all education, correct? But there's a point next year where the state's going to mandate us to start considering penalties, correct? Just wanted to reinforce that.
Yeah, so right now we're just leaving oops tags to just educate the homeowner.
That's a question on Zoom. When do the oops tags begin, or have they already began?
So those will begin on the next audit that I do next month.
In the microphone,
I'm sorry. So those will begin next month.
The tags will begin next month?
Yes.
Okay,
And our
Okay, thank you.
drivers currently already have them. So if they see them when they're out collecting daily, they will put out an oops tag.
And they have the ability they have cameras, right? So they're able to
Correct.
see what's going into the truck.
Correct.
Probably
with
the public
camera.
should be aware of that.
Yeah, all of our trucks have cameras, so when they go to collect, if they see any contaminants in the container, they will put out an oops tag.
I guess-
There's another Zoom question. I was told to use bags for the garbage. Are plastic bags not allowed?
In your garbage,
In-
in your garbage, they're allowed, just not in the
You mean in the
blue.
gray garbage,
Yeah.
correct?
In the gray waste, yes, but not in the blue recycling or the green organics. No, they're not.
And if people want to get the triple trash cans, I guess they'd have to purchase those online at this point. Is that correct?
Yeah, I found those on I found that on Amazon.
Yeah, I can tell you, we're looking into seeing if we can't, we're talking about different opportunities to see if we can't do some bulk purchases and things like that, but that's still in the discussion stages right now for this, very drastic change in the way you dispose of garbage in the house, because you clearly, if you don't have 3 cans in the house, you're not really able, right, to put it in 3 cans. It's at that point, if you mix it and then try to take it out of your can, you've got contamination issues, correct? So you've really got to separate everything in the house. right?
Yeah, that will make it a lot easier, yes.
So what they were telling me earlier is there's potentially for the food waste, that's the real key, is to be able to separate out the food waste, which is something we've never done before, correct? And so you have
Correct.
to have some kind of container for the food.
Correct.
And typically it goes into a pail or something like that. And
Yeah, if you have something in your kitchen, or you can freeze it before putting it out.
And then I assume on your website, you have all these do's and don'ts that people are going to be able to do. And we should mention it's going to be this video will be edited to make sure it's succinct, and it will be on our MHCSD communications page, and we'll make sure on our website. I assume now we have links to your website with all the educational information.
Yeah, on our website, you can find a list of what belongs in each cart.
And I'm assuming on your website is all the information for where hazardous waste can be taken and hazardous recyclables as well, correct?
Correct, yeah, we have a list of facilities that it can go to.
And what are the things that can be dropped off at your facility? Is there anything that I can't remember. There's something on there. There's some things that we take into your facility.
Batteries, mattresses, I'm trying to think of oil, light bulbs, batteries. E-waste.
Yeah, I'm seeing in the comments here a reminder what a lot of people are doing that are worried about, particularly as we get into our 6 months of summer that we have in the valley. One of the things I learned living in the mountains is where you've got the animal attractions is for a lot of particularly your meats and things like that. You get in, a lot of folks for best practice will go ahead and put them in the freezer until trash day so that you've not got the issues all week. So that's one thing to consider is but just make sure you don't put it in plastic, correct?
Correct.
But you certainly keep the odors down if you can freeze as much of the food as possible till you put it in the
Correct.
can.
Yeah, and getting rid of the liquids, the extra liquid in the food
Right.
scraps, that really helps as well.
Have we ever had bear issues down in this area? No, that's good. No bears, but you certainly, if you're putting a lot of meat and chicken in the trash can early, that's definitely, there's still raccoons and any other things that could be attracted, correct?
Yeah.
So if you've got room in the freezer, anything that you think would be a real attractant, it's probably better to keep in the freezer or even in the refrigerator if you don't have room until the night before trash day, I would think.
Yeah. And also like layering, in your yard waste helps. And then also just making sure that the lid on the container is completely closed.
And will you have those videos available on at your website too, so people can?
This presentation should.
The whole presentation, and we'll post the presentation as well as the video for people to see as well. If we both have it, makes it easier. Let's see, there's more questions.
Another Zoom question, where do old tools, old items such as metal tubs go? Is that a special pickup?
Go on that one too.
Those items can certainly be picked up by calling that 835-3639 number. And we have a truck that comes out and picks up any of those kind of items. You know, as long as the bulky pickup and all that kind of stuff is put out, we do the same thing with any of the items that are not part of the residential containerized collection.
But why don't you go ahead and remind everybody, I'm not sure, probably most people know, but remind them about the bulky pickup options and how often they can do that.
Yeah, every year, every residence has the ability to call and schedule at their convenience a bulky item pickup where we will come out and they have to bring it to the curb and then we will pick it up and haul it away.
And you should mention what items aren't allowed for those pickups.
As far as the bulky items, it's that are not allowed.
Things like engine, yeah, what can't you do? Things like engines.
Bulky items, pretty much, if we can pick it up by hand, we will pick it up. Part of the program is couches and recliners and your normal household items. But if you have something that's out of the ordinary, that's not anything excluded. We would come out with a flatbed, and if it's two guys and we can physically get it in the truck, we can remove it for you.
Except for hazardous materials. correct?
Hazardous materials, no, we do not haul away. But if you have say a TV monitor or something like that, we pick those up.
You will do the
Yeah,
electronic?
e-waste we will pick up. And then it can be brought out to the facility as well. One of the, I know the community is relatively new, but if you have paint, for instance, if you just leave the lid open and let the paint harden and dry, then it can go in your waste container. It's not considered a hazardous because it can't leach into the groundwater. So those are some of the things that a homeowner can do to, eliminate having to go to the household hazardous waste. But if they do have paints that are, in high volume that can be reused, they do have programs where they blend those paints and they actually reuse that material. So, but the San Joaquin County has their household hazardous facility there, and they accept all those hazardous items there.
And where's that? Should probably tell folks where that's located.
I don't know the exact address, but it is in conjunction with the Stockton Airport. It's within that area.
You can just Google search and find it, but it's out airport.
We have that
way,
link
Bridgeport.
and that address on our website.
Right, off of 99.
Yep.
Are tires hazardous waste?
Tires are a hazardous material that requires a manifest. So if for some reason somebody had a lot of tires, we would require them to get I think it's a TPI number. And basically you're the generator at that point, and then we would create a manifest because those are all manifested items. But our trucks are certified to haul waste tires. So
You can do that in a bulk pickup then.
yeah, if they had a container with tires in it, they would just notify the office that I have. If they ordered a container outside of the 3-cart system and they had tires in there, they would just let us know that those tires are in there, and we would create a manifest and leave them with a copy of that and haul that off as well, because those have to be handled separately. They do not go to a landfill. They go to a tire recycling facility. So.
And so just a reminder, so right now the recycling is still every other week. It's just the green and the gray that's every week, correct? Just
That is
to-
correct. Your garbage and your organics cart is put out weekly. And all 3 containers are put out on that every other week.
And is there a maximum weight for each can?
The cans are rated, I believe, at 250 pounds.
Mhm.
But the trucks, typically, we set them up to be able to pick up 400 pounds. So if there's an issue, but usually by then you're compromising the integrity of the cart, and it'll either split the cart or, you'll see issues there, but and food waste obviously can get heavy if it's just straight food waste. I know in the commercial side, we limit those bins to 3 cubic yards, because 3 cubic yards in restaurant waste, those get really heavy. And the trucks are rated, I believe, at 8,000 pounds, and you can actually get right there with it. So
I've also had people asking from the commercial side, what counts as edible food recovery? I assume they're not going in the trash can and recovering the food, right? So,
correct. Yeah, edible food recovery from a warehouse, you would have items that are either close to expiration or have met that expiration date, but still are within a range that could be consumed. Those typically go through the food bank organizations, where they have refrigerated trucks. They take them to warehouses. They have the refrigeration capacity to be able to process and distribute. And that's something outside the scope of what we do, but it's definitely something that we work in conjunction with those facilities. So.
and for restaurants, is it expired food that's not been opened?
Yeah, restaurant typically is, you'll have some expired food, but typically it's the plate scrapings. So their food is relatively clean because they're reusing the dishes and stuff. Where you get into a fast food situation.
But for the recovery though, that's not from the scrapings, right? That's just from
from
food
the
they haven't
From
opened.
the food recovery from restaurants, yeah, that would be packaged close to either expired or close
Right.
to expiration date material they want to get rid of.
But just to reinforce so the public knows, the restaurants have to go through the exact same requirements along with the food recovery
That is correct.
as well for their near expired items. So if you're in a restaurant, it should now have the ability for you to, if it's a self-service restaurant, you should be able to use the 3 cans should be available, correct?
Correct.
Anywhere in California,
Correct.
so folks know. So they do
And
it
as
correctly at the
employers-
restaurant.
Employers are required as well, if they have over so many employees, they're required to provide those containers and the separation ability.
And we should mention that in our purchasing policies, that all government agencies now have requirements for, one of the things they want to make sure is now that we're going to be recycling more, that there's a market for purchasing all those recycled goods. So now we have certain mandates that all government agencies have to meet to go ahead and purchase that, so that there's since that's always been a challenge in the past, correct? To be able to actually use all your recycling.
That's correct.
I think it's important to know that this is more than while obviously for everybody in the room, the trash can is the most, for home is important, but it's important to know that this is a more holistic approach statewide to try and get as little in landfill, to have as much not go to the landfill and be reused as possible.
Right. And that's one of the big things with 1383 with the organics, is keeping it as clean as possible and having a material that you can get certified through the ag department, because the biggest outlet that we have is the agricultural sector. So if we create a material that they can't use, then we're going to be bombarded with material that, has little or no value to anybody. And, nobody's going to want to put chopped up plastic bags in their garden because, plastics end up in the foods, so it's very important to keep it clean. From the start, it makes a good end product.
Yeah, I think it's important for the public to know that. That's
Yeah.
it saves us all money if things are put in the right can.
And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to start doing some videos that we'll be posting on our trace and material recovery site, where it'll show more of the processing. So, you can get an idea of what actually comes out of the truck, what it looks like, and, what it has to go through to get ground and put in these windrows. And the requirements, if there's plastic blowing throughout our facility, the health department inspects us, and that's something that has to be mitigated immediately. It's not like, well, you can leave it there for 12 weeks and screen that material out. You have to eliminate any flyable plastics in those open windrows because, you're trying to be a good neighbor on top of doing the right thing. So you can't have stuff blowing all over, but we do have tours available at the facility. We have a visitor center where we do schools. Where they could come out and tour that whole facility.
Have some Mountain House schools come out and visited, or?
It's been a while with COVID, we stopped all the
Mhm.
visitations, but
You're
that's
back.
something that we can get going again. But it's certainly, we have recently what we've done is we've actually brought the trucks to the schools and the
Mhm.
kids will see the trucks, the containers and that, but we haven't had any visitations since COVID, but that's something definitely we will get going again.
And then my final question is, folks, we had to do a rate increase to accommodate all these requirements. And so I think it'd be good for the public to know where all that additional revenue that they're generating is, what are the costs that you're incurring? You've had to incur, capital and operating, to take on these requirements. And so why did the rates go up?
Well, part of 1383 requirements were color specific containers with the proper labeling of what can and cannot go in the container, as well as additional trucks and staffing to go to the weekly collection. And then one of the other components that Melissa alluded to was the contamination monitoring. She heads that up, so she's running those crews. So you might see her out here with people, she's supervising, we're just getting all those inspections off the ground. So that's something, those are just additional staffing, trucks, containers, and the process.
Trucks are not cheap, right?
No, and then part of the process too for the commercial sector is the depackaging of expired food waste. So that's something that is a whole nother animal with expired food out of a warehouse because we get it in packaged, but that material doesn't get handled like the residential green waste organic material. That's processed into a sludge and then pumped onto the material. Once all the packaging has been removed, it gets ground up in a big hammer mill and it turns into like a pulp, like almost a consistency of oatmeal. And then it's pumped. And one of the things, if you keep it in a liquid form, if we start bumping against maximum capacities of that amount in the green waste, because you can only go to the maximum amount of food waste in green waste is 40%. And then you start getting in, it's too wet, it won't process. So if there was a large amount of expired food waste that was pulped and turned into this slurry, you would go to, say, a sewer plant that has a digester where they would recover the methane gas from it. So that is another option as well that we have. There's a few cities that have that. Tracy, I think, is looking at it, but Manteca's got one. And then there's some cities that have a little bit of capacity where you could take them a load now and then. So you have to shop that around. One of the things with 1383 is when it was passed, only 40% of the infrastructure was in place to handle all this additional material. So everybody's been scrambling to either re-permit facility, expand facilities, but everything we do is regulated by the state. And in our instance, we're regulated by San Joaquin County Health Department. That is our lead enforcement agency. So the state sets the rules, the health department enforces them, and they come out and do their monthly inspections. And part of that inspection is checking inbound, outbound material, our daily temperature test and turns, moisture contents, because part of the composting process is adding moisture. It always has 40% to 50% moisture. So there's a ball test that you do. Once you get it into these windrows, you actually have to grab a big chunk and ball it up, and it has to maintain that, that shape. But when we say open windrows, I know one of the slides, it looked like it was if you go back to it, you review it, it looks like there's smoke coming off of the windrow. Those windrows at our facility are sitting there at 140 degrees at all times. And if the temperatures either go up or go down, that's telling us that we either need to add water, or we go over the piles with a big, basically as a glorified rototiller that straddles these big piles that are 14 feet wide and 7 feet high and 350 feet long. And we turn those and we add air. We oxygenate the pile to let that process continue and not slow down. It doesn't ruin the compost, but it just, we try to maintain that 10-week window, 10 to 12 weeks, because of the volume of material that's coming in. It doesn't stop. So obviously we have to get it processed and get it ready for market. But I know Melissa was saying Home Depot and Ace Hardware, we deal with the secondary processor that they'll do other blends with our material as a bulking agent. And then they'll bag that material, and you see what, a lot of our product is in the Home Depots and Ace Hardwares. That just happens to be one of the vendors that we use.
So we have farm to fork and trash to Home Depot, right? So
That's right. That's right.
well, I think that gives people a much better feel for the process, and certainly in the future, there's going to be other issues such as, the emissions requirements and things of that nature. But I think we've given them a lot of.
And I
Good
think, and I
information.
know I've said it before, but I think something that's important to bring up is the Mountain House Service District has done a good job in securing capacity. That is a huge one when it comes to jurisdictions, because a lot of these cities, they don't have a hauler that does processing. They basically truck it somewhere. And I've seen instances where the processor has reached its limit and they call the city and say, hey, take your stuff somewhere else, where, Mountain House, enjoys the ability through the contractual agreements that have been secured, is having that capacity, because that is one of the requirements in 1383, is making sure you have a place to go with your material. So.
And it saves you money as well, not to have that uncertainty.
Right. Yeah. With fuel costs these days, trucking stuff somewhere else to have it processed is not ideal by any means. But yeah, and we have other plans, in the future, and as far as the bags, whether there ever will be a certifiable compostable bag, but if it ever did, that we would notify everybody that, hey, there is another option here, or if we had the ability to handle that material like that, we would. I know I think it's the 5th largest composter in the US, started off accepting all those materials. Now they have a big problem on their hands because they have these contaminants in there, and now they're trying to remove them from the stream. So one of the things that, we say we don't want it, but the ag department, if you allow that in your inbound feedstock, they don't even consider you for certification. So
even those who are accepting probably won't be in the future.
they're
most
just
likely.
screening it out. They're trying to screen it out.
Right.
But the problem is they can't meet the requirement. So
Mhm.
now they're trying to eliminate it and get it out of their streams. So again, like we talked, if it's clean, typically in the recycling business, if it draws flies from a recycling standpoint, from the containers, nobody wants it. If it's contaminated with plastic, as far as organics are concerned, nobody wants it. The guys, farmers don't want it in their fields. And, it's a problem that we all have to deal with. And right now it's the best practices are using the paper grocery bags or some sort of a newspaper to line, layer,
Mhm.
and clean and rinse.
All right. So everything, yeah, and we certainly will continue to educate folks as we get into those 100-degree days to remind them the
Right.
importance of lining maybe keeping some of your food out to the last minute and washing them out after trash day.
Right.
So that we
and-
can all live in neighborhoods that continue to have a good quality of life. And
Right, and if you have a situation where you have leftovers in the refrigerator, maybe you just choose to clean your refrigerator out the night before.
All right.
You're gonna put your container out, and so it's not, it doesn't turn into an issue, but.
Right.
Those are just some of the things.
So it's the beginning. We've got a
It's the
long ways to
beginning, and
go.
We're all learning here, so.
So hopefully, I think we'll wrap it up then. Don't have any other questions. So I think we'll wrap it up and we'll thank West Valley for being here tonight. And you've got all of our, you can certainly, you've got their contact information. We'll be posting all this information online. And look forward to having further discussion down the road.
Perfect.
So thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, everybody, for watching, and we'll be posting these so you can refer this to others to watch as well.